I think my worst qualities also go into the work that I make. I think a lot of my artistic choices came about out of necessity, and there came to be a point where I just could not haul giant oil paintings across the city anymore and all my stuff. And I was living very itinerantly at artist residencies for several years and out of a backpack. And so I just started making, but also the canvas makes me feel stuck and constipated.
Mhm.
Whereas flimsy paper, the cheapest paper that you can buy, I like the way that it communicates and participates in the artwork by contracting and wrinkling um and and also the low pressure of it. I just had to make everything casual because I also go through phases where I suffer from self-importance and need to allow myself to make really bad art, which is a lot of art about poop
Yeah.
and bodily function. Well, I was thinking, I was writing about this earlier where I just had a really long phase of writing, making art that was based off of my mother's experiences in the Chinese Cultural
Mhm.
Revolution. And I can't believe I'm still talking about this because I stopped doing this 5 or 6 years ago. But I went home to my grandma's house a couple weeks ago and was again really infatuated by all of the black and white photos of them from the Cultural Revolution era. And and I had my friend Yu Young translate my grandmother's history
Mhm.
because she can't speak English and my Cantonese is too crummy and has eroded to the point where I can only speak to her about food in the bathroom. And and I was thinking that I experienced this, and I think a lot of people who are children of immigrants or children of immigrants have a phantom limb complex when it comes to identity,
Mhm.
and where they feel real pain for an experience that they didn't experience. And it took me a really long time to realize that my mother's experiences aren't my experiences and that I'm very much American. And that's when I started transitioning into more body horror. Because one thing that I love about poop and fart jokes is that they're really stupid and not equated with high, actually they are equated with high art because there's a tradition of abjection with Piero Manzoni's cans of shit and stuff. But as soon as it's in a museum, it becomes sanctified and holy.
Mhm.
And but I guess I love people who can laugh at poop jokes and talk about their poop and that kind of thing because to me it's this indication of a childlike sensibility before that became shameful. And we decided that we had to hide something that every single person does and is familiar with and never talk about. I think that with the theme of objection, it can really dissolve boundaries, the whole body horror sensibility, because you can spend your whole life building yourself up and making yourself into somebody or having a career or any number of things. And then, but ultimately, we're all governed by our shit and
Yeah.
dictates of our body. And I've experienced this a lot lately because my father um, passed away last year, and towards the end of his life, he was really incontinent
Mhm.
and totally. lost his sense of autonomy, which was so essential to him. And also, all my parents are pretty old and have poop issues. So, and it's also kind of, it's very humbling and sad, but also a sign of love that someone's willing to wipe their butt for them, and that it's stopped being gross. I mean, it's maybe still gross, but loving someone makes their poop cleaner. I get artist block a lot, but I just don't feel right if I'm not making something really dumb on a weekly basis. And I do think that I can really push the people I collaborate with a lot, because once I start collaborating with someone, I feel like my life depends on it in a way, because collaboration brings me so much joy, and it makes making art silly and fun and a pleasure again. And I just really don't like being alone in my studio brooding my regrettable life choices. And so I do kind of have to watch out for burning out my collaborators, because I'll be like, we're doing this every week forever.
Yeah.
And that's just not realistic for most people.
um,
Oh, and here's a squishy thing.